Hello, I'm Richard. Today I want to talk about filing, the use of a metal file. I've taught many classes over the last 20 years in many places around the country and a few outside the United States. And a lot of times there's discussion about the proper use of a file. Many people think that you have to file only in one direction and that if you file both directions, you could even damage your files. I don't think that's possible to damage a hardened steel file when you're filing silver, copper, or brass. That to me just doesn't make any sense. So I find that if I keep the file on the metal, that I can actually file better and keep better control. And picking it up each time, stroke like that just doesn't make sense to me. I was in a workshop with Charles Luton Brain, and he said if you file back and forth, you can increase your productivity about 15%. Now, I've taken a class in Italy with a 70-year-old master goldsmith, and he files in both directions. So I think you can file in both directions if you want to. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, you don't have to. But if you want to go back and forth, don't worry about it. You're not going to damage the file. And you can actually test yourself to see what's happening on the backstroke. So if you clean off your counter or your bench block, put a piece of paper down, and only go backwards for 4 or 5 times, and you'll see that there are actual filings on that paper that have come off just from the backstroke. So something is happening there. It's not a lot of cutting, but it does indeed remove some of the material. Now, similar to a file is the saw. The saw is just really a file. It's the smallest file that you've got because both of these work on the same principle, that is chip removal. And they do so with wedge-shaped inclined planes in a series, whether it's in this direction or as in a file. A lot of them going in a different direction. So they really are the same thing. But I have never seen anybody saw by going the saw and then pick it up and saw. And I've never seen that because I don't think it's an efficient way to do it. Everybody I have ever seen saws up and down, keeping it in place. And you can once again test your own self with backstroke only on your saw, and you'll see that there are particles coming off of that metal, little filings in both directions. So go ahead and continue sawing like you have been. One other thing about sawing, and that is, what about lubrication? What about putting a little lube on that? I know that a lot of people are religious about that. I never use it. I don't think it's necessary because after about 2 strokes with that blade on the metal, if you take a magnifying glass or a loupe and look at your saw blade, you'll see that there's no more lubrication on the cutting edges of the saw blade. You may find some uh, wax or lubricant on the sides of your blade, but there won't be any on the cutting tips, which is actually where the work is being done. And I've never seen anybody use lubrication on a file. If it were so efficient, you would find that people would use this also on their files. Now, the only time that maybe lubrication really would be helpful would be like with a drill press where you're drilling. If you can have a continuous stream of oil coming into that drilling, that would help. But the same thing happens if you're just putting something like a beeswax or whatever the lube that you choose. It's going to come off after just a few turns of the drill or the burr. So they're really not very efficient, but there's something psychological about it, I think, for a lot of people. Once again, when I was in Italy, they did not lubricate burrs, saw blades, drill bits, anything. So I think it's just something that we kind of get used to doing. So I hope you find that interesting and useful. And if you would like some more instruction, in-depth projects, please visit my website, rsally.com, and take a look at the online classes that are offered. And be sure to subscribe to this channel, and I hope you'll come back again.